A while back, I did a video giving tips on how to move to Saudi Arabia as a health worker, but then I realized that some things were missing. So I did another video in which I added 8 important information, but after releasing the video, I realized that there were still some infos missing. And now here I am making another video in which I'm adding not just 8, but 10 more information for you guys. I hope there's no addition this time around, but who knows? We learn every day, and I'm very eager to share knowledge with you guys. So here are 10 more information you need as a prospective health worker in Saudi. Let's start. Okay, one of the updates I wanted to make is about the exams to qualify to come to Saudi Arabia and practice. In some instances, exceptions are being made. Some particular groups of doctors could come over here without writing the SMLE. Hear me out first. So usually then, I don't know whether it still happens now, some representatives of the Ministry of Health here in Saudi Arabia go to some countries to conduct interviews. And those that are being interviewed, if found to have satisfied the requirements, are given appointments without them writing SMLE. It's usually a 1-year appointment or a 1-year contract. The contract renewal here is annually. So before you renew the contract towards the next year, one of the requirements is you having the Saudi license, which you can only get by writing the exam. So yes, you go to some countries, including Nigeria, where I come from, and conduct interviews. And if you have passed and they're satisfied with your interview, they give you an appointment letter subsequently and come over here and start working. But then within that 1 year, you write the SMLA exams here in Saudi Arabia and pass, and then you're able to get your license so that you can renew your contracts. If you don't pass within that 1 year, and you remember in the first video, I said that you don't attempt it more than 3 times. And if you don't pass it within that 1 year, you cannot renew your contract and you just have to leave. So these are some exceptions that can be made. Some people come over here, they're writing the SMLE. I hope I've answered some of you because I didn't really address that in the first video. Then tied closely to that, talking about the annual contract, you renew every year for as long as you can stay here. And part of it is that you need the license, which is a one-time thing. Once you're licensed, you're a licensed doctor or a licensed health worker in Saudi Arabia. But another thing that will be required from you is a series of tests. The important ones are the serology tests too, so HIV and the hepatitis B and C. You'd have to do them before your contract is being renewed, with some other requirements. It depends on your region, and they might ask for these things. You might need to do a BLS and an ACLS too for doctors. I don't know about nurses, whether there are some other things apart from maybe some other certifications you would need to do. I really can't say, but for doctors, you would need to. So you know that within your first year, try to write the SMLE, or else you wouldn't be able to renew your contract. And then you have to go through some tests again every year and be free of the implicating diseases, or else your contract wouldn't be renewed. And then also you need to do BLS. It depends. The basic life support and sometimes ACLS too. It depends on the region. So I would advise you that whichever region you find yourself, talk with the doctors there to know the specific requirements. Yeah, also the Ministry of Health, I'm talking about the Ministry of Health. For the private hospitals, I really can't say about it. Might be yearly. I work with the Ministry of Health. So those that work with private hospitals here in Saudi Arabia, you could make inputs to in the comment section to guide us properly. Another thing about the accommodation, yeah, initially, if you're being employed in a hospital that has accommodation, within the first few months you're there, before you get your accommodation, you could stay there. However, note something that for family people, you would have to stay outside because the accommodation is usually reserved for the singles most times. And then another thing is that they give more preference to females over males. So the female doctors and nurses are more likely to be chosen over the male doctors and nurses too. And that's because it's more convenient. Guys, you have to hustle now. You understand? So As a single female doctor or nurse, you're more likely to stay in the hospital accommodation if your hospital has one for as long as you choose compared to the males and the family people. So I hope I've readdressed that too. Then another very important detail I wanted to add before, which I failed to include in the first video, is that as soon as you land in the airport here, either through Riyadh or Jeddah, try and get a Saudi SIM card. Try and buy it. It will be registered with your border number on your passport. Try and get it. It's going to be way more convenient for you because you might be taken somewhere that you wouldn't easily get to the stores, the communication stores to buy the SIM card. So please buy the SIM card over there. It's being registered with your order number. Over time, you could shift it to be registered to your ICAMA when you get your ICAMA, and that's your resident permits. As soon as you land in the airport, there are stores that sell SIM cards, different stores. So you could get one easily and register. It will help you to be able to communicate with people within the country, because if you're using your local SIM, that's the SIM from your country, it's way more expensive and maybe it doesn't have coverage in the country too. So try and get a SIM card to further communicate. Another thing, based on personal experience, is that if you can, avoid coming here for the first time during the weekends, because normally when you drop at the airport, you go to the airport clinic to tell them that you're a new doctor. They will get your appointment letter and call the director in charge of your place to tell them that there's a new doctor here and they'll come and get you. It's usually more difficult during the weekend compared to weekdays. So I came during the weekend. I came on Friday. Weekends here are Fridays and Saturdays. And oh boy, did it take me a long time before they fetched me. Like I stayed in the airport for a very long time. Thank God a couple of friends came around and gave me food, or else, hey. So if you can, please come during the weekdays. But it doesn't mean they will still come and carry you eventually. But it's more stressful. When you get the appointment letter, another thing to note is that the only thing you can be sure of from the appointment letter is the region. So there are different regions, but the particular hospital you would work with in the Ministry of Health might not really be what is written in the appointment letter. You definitely be within that particular region, that particular area, but you might be taken somewhere else depending on the availability of the slots. So you really can't say which hospital you will really be working with. Though there are some special cases, especially for specialists, they could get that. But for residents like we just know that, yes, we're going to be in this region and maybe a particular neighborhood or a particular area. But then you can't really see till you come over, sign your contract. That's when you actually know where they will be taking you to. When I came in here, I met a couple of Nigerians too, about 3 other Nigerians. And one of them came in a few days after I did. And eventually, after we signed all the contracts together, I was taken somewhere in the same region, but a very far place compared to me. One other person among the three, we work in the same place. He was working in a different hospital before, but now we work together. And the other person is taken to another village too. So despite the fact that the appointment might have the same region and the same area, but not really bet on it. You could be taken somewhere, but just know that it will be within the same region and you're fine. Just note, I had brushed on this point very briefly, and maybe it wouldn't be really obvious, but I needed to stress that as a health worker here, you are eligible for free healthcare. So you don't really pay for healthcare services here within government facilities. So if you need any medical attention, it's free of charge, including your family members to get free healthcare services here so far as they are registered. And also, if you have children, you could go to the public schools too for free. So that's one beauty about being here. It's conducive, it's convenient too. But if you want your kids to go to international schools, you would pay for those ones. But for the public schools, they're free. And if you also want private hospital services too, you pay. So I wanted to stress that too as part of the benefits of being here. Then some people also ask me about the weather. Saudi Arabia is very big. I am in Nigeria, and Saudi Arabia is nearly twice the size of Nigeria geographically. And where I am, the Jazan region, the weather is different from other regions. Like here is usually hot all through. Even because I'm coming from Nigeria, I schooled in Jos and I spent nearly 20 years in Jos. Plateau State is one of the coldest parts of Nigeria. Jos is cold. So I'm already used to that cold weather. So when I came over here, when they complain that the weather is cold, me, it's not really cold to me. It's just less hot. But Jazan is usually hot all through the year. You just find some times that are hotter, and then some other times it's less hot. Personally, to me, it's not cold. I will need to wear jacket. There's no cold like that. When we went to Riyadh, if you had watched my Riyadh vlog, Riyadh was cold when we came in, but a few days later, we even noticed that it wasn't that cold again. We were going out without the jackets. But there are some places that it snows, like it really snows. Yeah, it snows in some parts of Saudi Arabia. Sometimes the temperature reads to the negative, or even I that I'm here, that I'm complaining that it's usually hot. There are some parts too that are very cold. So it depends on which region you get your job, and you might experience the peculiarities of the weather. And yes, that's what I can say about the weather. And another thing is, because my region is hot, you find more activities towards the evenings and nights than the mornings and afternoons. You would scarcely get anything in the afternoon when you go out, especially non-essential commodities. Pharmacies, hospitals, and some eateries are open, with some shops, just definitely the grocery stores. But all these other things like electronic shops, kid shops, all those things, they open towards the evening. And that's because the weather is not really hot again, so people can come out. But it can be coming out in the mornings, especially late mornings and afternoons. You'll be able to walk, or you just drive around. It's very hot. So I am used to it now. I'm more of a nocturnal person. I'm shooting this video now around 5 minutes past 3. And that's because I work in the evening. So that's why I can still sleep and wake up much later during the day and prepare for work. I'm used to the night activity. I'm sure now that when I go out, you still see some people full of activities outside. It has more to do with the weather. Then the last thing I wanted to talk about is tax. We don't pay tax here. It's part of the job contract. So your salary is your salary. The tax is not removed from your salary. That's the beauty. That's one great thing about it. And despite that, you still access government services. That's really kind of the government and the people of Saudi Arabia. But you pay VAT now for services, definitely. So that's the only way you pay taxes. But say, make them deduct money, sorry. But they removing tax from your salary, no, it doesn't happen. You just get your money as it is. So I think that's all for now. I hope I didn't leave anything out, because I wouldn't want to do a follow-up to this again. And if there are other questions, please let me know. My contacts are in the description below, so you can reach out to me. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and you could share it with as many people as you can who find this video valuable. And if you enjoy what I do and want to remain here, please, you can subscribe and turn on the bell notification. Thank you, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.